Have you ever sat in a completely quiet room, surrounded by silence, and realized that the person you really needed to talk to was yourself? There are moments in life when the background noise of the world gradually fades away. The notifications pause, the foot traffic outside slows down, and the house settles into an almost heavy, unbroken stillness. You find yourself sitting on the edge of your couch, watching the afternoon light slowly retreat across the floorboards. And in that stillness, a sudden realization settles into your chest. No one is coming to fix this feeling for you. It is a heavy thought, but it is not necessarily a cruel one. It is not that the people in your life do not care, nor does it mean you are unloved. It simply means that everyone around you is carrying their own invisible weight, navigating their own silent battles, and trying to reach their own finish line. They are busy trying to keep their own lives afloat. But in the quiet of your own space, when you are left entirely alone with your thoughts, it is so easy to mistake that physical distance for total abandonment. You feel a sudden hollowness, a quiet ache that asks how you arrived at a place where you have to carry everything by your own hand. When life gets overwhelming, we naturally look around for a hand to hold or a voice to tell us that everything will turn out fine. We look for external comfort to fill the empty spaces within us. But when those external voices are absent, the quiet room can feel less like a home and more like a mirror, reflecting every insecurity you have ever tried to outrun. You notice the subtle tightness in your chest, the way your breath stays shallow, and the quiet fear that if you break down right now, there won't be anyone there to help you pick up the pieces. Yet, what if this quietness is not a void designed to consume you? What if the silence is not proof that you have been left behind, but an invitation? For so long, you may have given your energy, your patience, and your comfort to everyone else. You have been the listener, the supporter, the steady anchor for people when their worlds were shaking. But when your own world shakes, you realize you rarely offer that same deep presence to yourself. You run from the quiet because sitting in it means feeling everything you have suppressed. The disappointment, the grief, the fatigue, and the quiet yearning to just be looked after for once. Step into this moment without running away. The room may be silent, but you are not empty. You are here, breathing, surviving, and holding space for a heart that has carried you through every difficult day of your life. Healing, when you have no one to lean on, begins right here, in the decision to stop avoiding your own company. It starts when you decide to sit down next to your own pain instead of running out the door to escape it. You do not need to have all the answers today. You do not need to figure out how to rebuild your entire life this very afternoon. You only need to acknowledge that you are worthy of your own care, even when no one else is around to offer it to you. Before we continue walking through this journey together, take a slow, deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Release the tension in your jaw. and leave a simple affirmation in the comments below. I am choosing to stand by my own side today. Let those words serve as your quiet anchor, a gentle promise that no matter how quiet the room becomes, you will never abandon yourself again. We grow up absorbing an unwritten story that whenever things get truly difficult, someone will eventually notice and step in to carry us through. It is a quiet expectation woven into the fabric of how we survive childhood. The belief that when the storm grows too intense, an adult, a friend, or a savior will walk into the room, take the weight off our shoulders, and fix what is broken. But as we navigate adulthood, that unwritten contract begins to fracture. We find ourselves waiting for a rescue that simply does not arrive. You might find yourself sitting in the stillness of your home, constantly looking at your phone, checking for a message that promises relief. You look out the window, watching the day pass by, hoping that some external event, a sudden gesture of kindness, or a life-changing shift will alter the internal landscape of your pain. You wait for a friend to call at just the right moment, for a partner to intuitively understand the unspoken grief you carry behind your smile, or for a mentor to step forward with the exact blueprint for your peace of mind. We tell ourselves, if only someone understood how much I am hurting, they would come. It is a deeply human desire to want to be saved. There is no shame in wanting someone to hold your hand when the path ahead looks dark. But waiting for someone else to rescue you puts your entire healing process on hold. It pauses your life. It surrenders your personal power to circumstances outside of your control, leaving your emotional well-being dependent on the availability, the mood, and the limited capacity of other human beings. People who are often struggling just to keep their own heads above water. When you spend your energy hoping for an external rescue, you are asking someone else to do the heavy lifting that only your heart is equipped to handle. Relying solely on external support to make you feel whole is like standing outside in a pouring rainstorm, waiting for the sky to clear, while refusing to open the umbrella you are already holding in your hand. The shelter you are looking for cannot be built by someone else's hands, no matter how much they care for you. It has to be designed, constructed, and maintained from within your own soul. Think about how many times you have delayed taking care of your own needs because you were waiting for someone else to validate your pain. How often have you stayed in uncomfortable, painful spaces simply because you were waiting for a sign or permission from the outside world to move on? The truth is, people can offer warmth. They can lend a listening ear, and they can walk beside us for a few steps. But no one can breathe for you. No one can process your grief for you. No one can rebuild your self-worth while you sit back and watch. Realizing that no savior is coming can feel terrifying at first. It can bring a sharp wave of disappointment, a feeling that life has somehow treated you unfairly by leaving you to manage your own healing. But if you shift your perspective just a little, that realization becomes the most liberating moment of your life. If no one is coming to save you, it also means no one holds the power to keep you stuck. It means your recovery does not belong to your past, to the people who hurt you, or to the people who walked away when things got tough. Your healing belongs entirely to you. You are the author of the next chapter. The strength you have been searching for in others has been waiting inside your own chest all along, quiet and patient, ready to be used the moment you decide to turn inward and rescue yourself. When you sit alone with no one to lean on, the silence can initially feel like an overwhelming, crushing weight. It has a way of stripping away all the noise and busyness you rely on to protect yourself during the day. In the middle of a packed work schedule or a lively room full of people, it is easy to keep your feelings buried beneath tasks, conversations, and small talk. But the moment the day ends and you are left in a quiet space by yourself, that protective buffer vanishes. The silence brings to the surface every doubt, every lingering pain, and every quiet insecurity you have spent weeks or months trying to ignore. You suddenly notice the subtle tension held tightly in your shoulders, the heavy, hollow feeling sitting in the pit of your stomach, and the endless loop of unanswered questions racing through your mind. You ask yourself if you are truly strong enough to handle this, if things will ever feel light again, or why life had to become so solitary. Most of us spend our entire lives actively fleeing from this exact space. We fill every spare second with noise, playing background music the moment we walk into a room, keeping videos running while we get ready, or endlessly scrolling through social media feeds just to keep our eyes and minds occupied. We do anything we can to avoid facing ourselves in the stillness, because we fear that if we sit quietly with our emotions, they will completely consume us. We treat our inner world like an unfamiliar, unsafe place. But learning to sit with your own silence is the most foundational step of true self-reliance. It is the moment you stop running away from your own life. When you allow the room to remain quiet, you finally give yourself permission to listen to your own voice instead of the relentless expectations, opinions, and noise of the world around you. You begin to realize that the anxiety you feel in the quiet is not caused by the silence itself. It is simply the accumulated pain you never allowed yourself to feel while you were busy trying to survive. The silence is not attacking you. It is just holding up a mirror, asking you to pay attention to the parts of your heart that have been hurting in secret. Sitting in your own silence takes immense courage. It means sitting on your couch or laying in your bed without reaching for a distraction when a wave of sadness washes over you. It means letting your breath slow down, placing a hand over your heart, and softly telling yourself, "I am right here with you. It is okay to feel this." When you stop fighting the quietness, a quiet shift begins to happen inside. You realize that the silence is not an empty, hollow space designed to make you feel isolated or forgotten. It is an sacred space waiting for you to occupy it with kindness, patience, and true self-awareness. It becomes the place where you process your grief, where you dust off your forgotten hopes, and where you reconnect with the person you were before the world told you who you had to be. The silence ceases to be your enemy when you decide to inhabit it as your own sanctuary. It becomes the quiet ground where you make peace with your past, gather your strength, and learn that your own presence is enough to keep you grounded, safe, and whole. Healing on your own requires you to stand face to face with a difficult truth. You are far more exhausted than you are letting on. There is a very specific, invisible kind of fatigue that comes from holding your entire life together by yourself while maintaining a quiet, gentle expression so the rest of the world thinks you are completely fine. It is the weight of being your own soul manager, your own protector, your own cheerleader, and your own comfort, all day, every day, without a single moment off. Think about how your days usually go. You wake up when the alarm rings, force your feet onto the cold floor, and make your bed. You brew your morning coffee, pack your bag, complete your daily tasks at work or school, and smile politely at the people who ask how your weekend was. You say, "I'm doing well, just busy," with a quick, practiced nod. You handle every errand, pay every bill, solve every small daily crisis, and navigate every emotional wave entirely in secret. To everyone else, you look functional, reliable, and strong. But underneath that polished exterior, you are running on empty. You might notice this hidden fatigue showing up in the smallest, quietest moments of your routine. It is staring blankly at a blinking cursor on a document, unable to gather the mental energy to type a single sentence. It is lingering in your parked car in the driveway for 15 extra minutes after driving home, holding the steering wheel in total silence because you simply do not have the strength to open the front door and start the evening routine. It is the heavy, aching sensation in your limbs when you finally lie down at night. A feeling that rest is not just something your body needs, but something your soul is desperately crying out for. This exhaustion is not a sign that you are weak, broken, or failing at life. It is simply the natural, inevitable result of relying entirely on your own inner reserves for far too long without giving yourself permission to drop the shield. You have spent months, perhaps even years, operating in survival mode. You have been carrying heavy emotional burdens while walking uphill, convincing yourself that if you just keep pushing a little harder, the fatigue will eventually go away on its own. When you have no one to lean on, the hardest thing to give yourself is grace. We fall into the trap of believing that strength means endless endurance. We tell ourselves that because no one is coming to help, we cannot afford to pause, cry, or admit that we are overwhelmed. We treat our own bodies and minds like machines, demanding productivity and emotional stability, even when our inner foundation is crumbling. Being there for yourself starts with honoring this hidden fatigue instead of fighting it. It means stopping the endless cycle of pushing through the pain. It means looking at yourself in the mirror and admitting, I am so tired, and that is okay. Rest is not a reward you have to earn after fixing every problem in your life. It is a fundamental requirement for your survival and healing. You do not have to carry the whole world today. You are allowed to leave the dishes in the sink for one night. You are allowed to say no to extra requests, turn off your phone, and curl up under a heavy blanket. Giving yourself permission to rest is not giving up on your journey. It is making sure you have enough strength to keep walking it. When we face deep personal challenges without external guidance, we are eventually forced to confront the parts of ourselves we often try to ignore. During busy days surrounded by people, it is easy to focus outward, projecting a version of yourself that is composed, capable, and guarded. But during extended periods of solitude, those outward defenses begin to slip away. You are left with an unedited view of your own inner landscape, standing before a mirror that reflects not just your outer appearance, but your deepest vulnerabilities, your repeating patterns, and the subtle ways you sometimes sabotage your own peace. Looking into this internal mirror can feel intimidating. You begin to notice how quickly you jump to self-doubt when something goes wrong. You see the harsh ways you talk to yourself, the old wounds you thought were healed, and the silent fears you usually drown out with activity. You might see moments where you pulled away from kindness because you were afraid of being hurt, or times where you sacrificed your own needs just to feel accepted. When there is no one else around to offer a distraction, these personal truths stand right in front of you, demanding to be seen. It is natural to want to look away from those uncomfortable reflections. We live in a world that encourages us to cut away our flaws, hide our mistakes, and present only our best, brightest sides. But true self-reliance cannot be built on a curated version of who you wish you were. It must be built on the honest reality of who you actually are. A prominent psychological thinker once reflected on this precise internal encounter when he shared a profound truth about human development. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by the integration of the contraries. Carl Jung. This insight carries a comforting message for anyone navigating healing on their own. It reminds us that becoming whole does not mean erasing your struggles, hiding your grief, or pretending you only possess unwavering strength. True self-support means accepting every single part of who you are, your moments of confidence, along with your deepest insecurities, your absolute clarity, alongside your cloudiest confusion. When you have no one else to rely on, you learn to step up to the mirror and integrate these contrasting experiences instead of rejecting them. You stop fighting your vulnerabilities and start treating them as essential components of your complete self. You realize that your sadness does not mean you are weak. Your anger does not mean you are broken. And your past mistakes do not render you unlovable. They are simply part of the complex story that makes up your life. Looking into the mirror of the self with kindness changes everything. Instead of judging what you see, you begin to offer yourself the same grace you would extend to a dear friend standing in front of you. You look at your own eyes in the glass and acknowledge the long, painful road you have walked to reach this moment. You validate your own pain, celebrate your quiet resilience, and choose to love the full, unfiltered person looking back at you. In doing so, the mirror ceases to be a place of judgment and becomes the starting point for your true, lasting healing. Trust is not just a bridge you build toward other people. It is a vital foundation you must slowly, patiently build within yourself. When you have survived difficult seasons completely on your own, you might begin to notice a quiet, painful rift in your inner world. Without even realizing it, you may have spent months or years breaking small, quiet promises to yourself. And that repeated breakdown gradually erodes your confidence in your own ability to handle life. Think about how often these moments quietly happen in your daily life. You promise yourself that you will go to sleep early tonight because your body is exhausted. But when the time comes, you stay up late, scrolling or staring at the ceiling, ignoring your body's cry for rest. You tell yourself that you will step outside for a brief walk after work to clear your head. But instead, you collapse onto the couch in dark contemplation, letting the evening slip away. Or perhaps you promise yourself that you will set a firm boundary with your time, yet the moment someone asks for a favor, you instantly say yes, giving away your limited energy just to avoid disappointing them. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem on the surface, your mind takes a quiet note. A subtle message begins to take root in your subconscious. I am not reliable. My needs do not matter. I cannot even depend on myself. Over time, this loss of internal trust makes every decision feel terrifying. You begin to second-guess your instincts, doubt your choices, and feel like an insecure stranger in your own skin. Rebuilding that lost self-trust does not require grand, life-altering gestures or overnight transformations. It begins in the quietest, simplest moments of your day through small, consistent actions that prove you are finally in your own corner. It looks like making a tiny commitment to yourself in the morning and keeping it, no matter what else happens. It looks like drinking a simple glass of water the moment you wake up, because you promised your body you would hydrate. It looks like stepping away from your computer screen for 5 minutes of fresh air on your balcony, simply because you told yourself you deserved a breath of calm. It looks like putting your phone down at the exact time you promised yourself you would rest, or honoring your own boundary when you need to say a gentle no to an overwhelming request. When you follow through on these small, everyday commitments, something remarkable begins to shift inside you. You send a powerful, clear message directly to your own heart. I am listening to you. I respect your limits. I am reliable, and you can count on me. Every kept promise is a single brick laid down to rebuild the foundation of your confidence. You start to realize that self-trust is not about being perfect or never falling down. It is about knowing that when you do fall, you will be there to pick yourself back up. You become a steady, trustworthy partner to yourself. The fear of being alone slowly fades away, replaced by a quiet, comforting truth. No matter how difficult the world outside becomes, you have built an inner bond that cannot easily be broken. It is remarkably easy to be kind to yourself when life is moving smoothly, when your plans fall neatly into place, and when your path feels clear. But true self-compassion is not tested during the quiet, pleasant days. It is tested in the dark, messy moments when everything feels like it is falling apart. When you make a painful mistake, when you experience a heavy setback, or when an overwhelming wave of sadness washes over you without warning, what does your inner voice sound like? For so many of us, that inner voice becomes harsh, critical, and unforgiving the moment we stumble. We speak to ourselves with a cold severity that we would never dream of using with anyone else. If a dear friend came to you with tears in their eyes, carrying a broken heart or a feeling of utter failure, you would not scold them. You would not list all the ways they made a wrong turn, nor would you tell them they are hopeless or unworthy of love. You would sit down beside them, pull them close, and speak softly. You would tell them that it is okay to be hurting, that making mistakes is part of being human, and that they will get through this difficult night. Yet, when we are the ones standing in the dark, we do the exact opposite to ourselves. We look at our own pain through a lens of judgment. We tell ourselves that we should be stronger by now, that we shouldn't be crying over things that happened in the past, or that our exhaustion is just a personal failure. We treat our wounded hearts like a problem to be fixed, rather than a part of us that desperately needs comfort. Being there for yourself means actively interrupting that cycle of self-criticism. It means learning the delicate art of holding space for your own heart with the same gentle warmth you so freely give to others. Self-compassion begins in the exact moment you catch yourself falling into harsh self-judgment. It is taking a sudden pause, letting out a long, heavy breath, and consciously choosing to change the language you use inside your own mind. Instead of asking yourself why you are struggling so much, try resting a hand gently over your chest and whispering, "This is really hard right now, and it makes complete sense that I feel overwhelmed." This simple shift in how you speak to yourself is not self-pity, nor is it an excuse to stop growing or to give up on your life. Self-pity isolates you, telling you that you are the only one suffering. Self-compassion connects you to the rest of the world, reminding you that pain and struggle are universal human experiences. It is not weak to treat yourself with tenderness when you are bleeding inside. It is the highest form of courage. When you have no one else to lean on, your inner voice becomes the atmosphere you live in every single minute of the day. If that atmosphere is cold, critical, and demanding, your home inside your own head will always feel like an unsafe place to be. But when you make a conscious commitment to cultivate self-compassion, you transform your inner world into a genuine sanctuary. You begin to realize that you do not have to perform, be perfect, or have everything figured out just to earn your own kindness. You learn to forgive yourself for the choices you made when you were just trying to survive. You give yourself permission to cry without feeling ashamed, to rest without feeling guilty, and to start over as many times as you need. Self-compassion becomes the swam, steady foundation beneath your feet, the quiet promise that no matter how hard you fall, you will always be met with understanding when you return to yourself. When you are going through a deep season of healing on your own, it is essential to understand the thin, often invisible line that separates solitude from isolation. While they might look similar from the outside, both involve spending time alone. Their impact on your heart and your mind could not be more different. Solitude is a deliberate, caring choice to step back from the busyness of the world to rest, reflect, and restore your drained energy. It is an intentional sanctuary where you reconnect with your true self. Isolation, on the other hand, is a quiet shadow that slowly creeps in when you are not looking. It is not a choice made out of self-love, but a defensive retreat born out of fear, deep emotional fatigue, or the heavy, painful belief that you simply do not belong anywhere. When you retreat into the shadow of isolation for too long, your world begins to shrink. Your perspective narrows until the walls around you feel like they are closing in. Small, everyday difficulties begin to look like insurmountable mountains, and manageable challenges start to feel completely hopeless. In isolation, your mind plays trick after trick on you. It distorts your thoughts, convincing you that your pain is too heavy for anyone to ever understand, that you are a burden, or that staying completely disconnected from the world is the only way to keep your broken heart safe. Isolation builds a wall, brick by quiet brick, keeping out not just the potential for pain, but also the potential for warmth, light, and healing. Navigating this shadow requires extreme honesty with yourself. It asks you to notice when your quiet time has stopped being a source of rest and has turned into a place of hiding. A prominent psychological thinker once offered a profound truth about human nature that illuminates this exact struggle. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. This insight exposes the true reason we often let solitude slip into painful isolation. Hiding away from the world is rarely just about avoiding other people. It is often about avoiding ourselves. It feels terrifying to sit alone in the quiet and accept every single piece of who you are, your past mistakes, your unfulfilled longing, your deep scars, and your present reality. We isolate because we fear that if we fully look at our raw, uncensored selves, we might not like what we find. Accepting yourself completely while navigating time alone is what keeps isolation from becoming a prison. when you choose to accept yourself without judgment, without conditions, and without needing to pretend, the heavy shadow of isolation begins to lift. You no longer feel the desperate need to hide from the world or run from your own reflection. You realize that you do not need to be perfectly healed or completely whole to be deserving of peace. Right now, learning to step out of the shadow of isolation does not mean you have to jump into overwhelming social situations before you are ready. It simply means opening small windows to let the light back in. It looks like opening your curtains to feel the sunlight on your skin, sitting on a bench in a public park just to hear the gentle breeze and distant chatter, or writing down your honest thoughts instead of letting them swirl endlessly inside your head. When you practice true self-acceptance, solitude ceases to feel like a cold room where you are trapped. It transforms into a quiet, beautiful sanctuary, a space where you are not hiding from life, but gently preparing yourself to return to it when you are ready. To heal independently, when you have no one else to rely on, you must gradually build an internal sanctuary, a reliable, quiet space inside your own mind where you can feel entirely safe, no matter how chaotic or uncertain the outside world becomes. So much of our emotional distress comes from feeling like we are at the mercy of our external circumstances. We react to every sudden shift in our environment, every cold interaction, and every unexpected roadblock, as if it has the power to completely shatter our peace. We live with our emotional windows wide open, letting the cold winds of life blow through our inner home, leaving us shivering, disoriented, and feeling unprotected. Creating an internal sanctuary means deciding that your inner world is sacred ground. It is the conscious practice of setting firm emotional boundaries, not just with other people, but with your own wandering, anxious thoughts. It is creating a mental space where the harsh demands of the world are not allowed to enter without your explicit permission. Think of this sanctuary as an intentional habit of gentle self-care and presence that you cultivate every single day. It is not an abstract or complicated concept. It is made up of the quiet, deliberate moments you choose to grant yourself throughout the day. It is sitting down at the end of a long, exhausting day with a warm cup of tea, leaving your phone in another room, and simply letting the steam rise in complete stillness. It is taking out a notebook and writing down your rawest, most honest thoughts without worrying about neatness or grammar, just letting the heavy emotions pour out of your head and onto the paper where they can no longer weigh you down. It is stepping outside in the cool evening air, looking up at the sky, and taking 3 slow, deliberate breaths that remind your nervous system that you are safe in this exact second. Your internal sanctuary is not a place of denial or escape. You are not building it to pretend that life is easy or that your challenges do not exist. Rather, you are building a stable, grounded foundation that allows you to process your reality effectively without being destroyed by it. It is the safe place where you go to gather your thoughts before making a hard decision. It is the quiet corner where you allow yourself to cry without feeling ashamed, knowing that your tears are clearing out the pain rather than defining your identity. When you make a habit of visiting this sanctuary, your morning routine begins to change. Before you step into the noise of your daily responsibilities, you take a moment to check in with your emotional state. You place a hand over your heart, pause, and gently ask yourself, what do I need to feel grounded today? What boundary do I need to hold to protect my peace? When you establish this inner safe space, external chaos slowly loses its ability to pull you off center. The unpredictable behavior of others, the sudden changes in your plans, and the weight of your solitary path no longer feel like world-ending catastrophes. You realize that while you cannot control the storms raging on the outside, you hold absolute authority over the climate within your own mind. You carry your home inside you, a calm, quiet, and steady refuge that is always ready to welcome you back whenever you need to rest. As you walk this long, solitary path of self-reliance, a subtle, profound shift begins to take place deep inside your spirit. The loneliness that once felt like a heavy, suffocating blanket begins to lift, transforming into a quiet, enduring strength that no one can ever take away from you. When you first started this journey, standing alone felt like a punishment, a harsh reminder of everything you lacked and everyone who wasn't there. But as you spent time sitting in your quiet room, facing your silence, honoring your exhaustion, and rebuilding trust with yourself, something remarkable happened. You discovered that the void you were so afraid of was actually the space where your true power resides. You begin to realize that while having support, love, and community from others is a beautiful comfort, your ability to stand firmly on your own 2 feet is your absolute greatest asset. You no longer move through the world with your hands held out, begging for external permission to feel okay, or seeking validation from others to prove that your life has worth. You have stopped waiting for someone else to step in and grant you peace, because you have learned how to cultivate it with your own hands. You have become your own steadfast ally, your own compassionate listener, and your own unshakable foundation. When a wave of doubt washes over you, you no longer panic looking for an exit. You simply place a hand over your heart and remind yourself of every difficult night you have already survived. You look back at the long, winding road behind you and realize that every time you fell, every time your heart broke into pieces, it was your own hands that picked you up, dusted you off, and kept you moving forward. Healing, when you have no one to lean on, is not about building cold, thick walls around your heart or excluding the world forever. It is not about becoming hardened, cynical, or unfeeling. True strength is gentle. It is learning to hold your boundaries firmly while keeping your heart soft and open. It is discovering that you possess an unshakable core, a quiet, inner resilience that can weather any storm life throws your way without losing its warmth or capacity for kindness. Standing firm in your own strength means knowing that whatever happens tomorrow, you will be okay. If people walk alongside you, you will appreciate their presence. If they choose to leave, you will not fall apart, because your foundation was never built on their willingness to stay. You are complete in your own presence. As you step into tomorrow, carry this quiet, sacred knowledge close to your chest. Whenever life grows challenging, heavy, or dark, you never have to search far for comfort or strength. You do not need to look outside yourself. You can simply pause, drop your shoulders, take a deep, slow breath, and know with absolute certainty that you are fully, completely capable of being there for yourself. As our journey through these 10 reflective steps comes to a quiet, natural close, take a moment to simply sit with where you are right now. The room around you might be just as quiet as it was when we first began, but the space inside you feels entirely different. There is a newfound softness in your chest, a gentle lowering of your shoulders, and a quiet realization that you are no longer the same person who started listening with a heavy, uncertain heart. For a long time, you may have carried the painful belief that being on your own meant you were somehow forgotten, that navigating life without an external support system was a reflection of your worth, or that your healing could only truly begin when someone else walked into your life to hold your hand. But over the course of this shared path, you have witnessed a profound truth unfold within your own spirit. The absence of an external rescue is not the end of your story, but the precise moment your real strength awakens. You have looked honestly into the mirror of your own life and seen the fatigue you carried in secret, the noise you used to escape the quiet, and the ways you broke small promises to yourself when life became too overwhelming. You have learned that healing independently is not about becoming cold, distant, or unfeeling toward the world around you. It is not about building unscalable walls or declaring that you will never need anyone again. Rather, it is about discovering that beneath all the fear, beneath all the exhaustion, and beneath all the unanswered questions, there is an enduring, unshakable core inside you that knows exactly how to hold you through the dark. Think back to the small commitments we explored: the simple glass of water in the morning, the 5 minutes of quiet, fresh air, the decision to stop harsh self-criticism in its tracks, and the choice to honor your need for rest without an ounce of guilt. These are not trivial actions. They are the fundamental bricks with which you build your internal sanctuary. They are the quiet, daily declarations that prove to your own mind that you are reliable, attentive, and fully worthy of your own care. You are learning to talk to yourself like someone you deeply love, offering yourself the exact grace, patience, and warmth you spent years giving away to everyone else. Standing firm in your own strength means that from this day forward, your peace no longer depends on the shifting moods, availability, or approval of the world outside. When life throws unexpected storms your way, you no longer have to look around in panic for a shelter built by human hands. You carry your sanctuary within your own heart. You have become your own quiet ally, your own compassionate listener, and your own steady ground. You know that even when the path ahead looks steep and unfamiliar, you possess every bit of resilience required to take the next slow, brave step. As you step away from this space and return to the flow of your daily life, take this quiet certainty with you. You are never truly empty, and you are never truly without support, because you have chosen to stop abandoning yourself. The bond you have started rebuilding with your own soul is the most important relationship you will ever cultivate. Guard it gently, nourish it daily, and trust it implicitly. Before you go back to your day, let us anchor this quiet transformation with one final conscious act of self-commitment. Take a slow, deep breath in, hold it for a brief moment, and release it completely. Then, step into the comments section below and leave this simple, powerful affirmation. I am my own safe place, and I will always stand by my side. Let those written words be a permanent marker of the promise you keep to yourself today. A reminder that no matter how quiet the room becomes, no matter how solitary the road feels, you will always be right there to hold your own hand, honor your own heart, and carry yourself home